I've made a lot of bows. I've made 5 of them so far for our 5 grandchildren. They're fairly light bows because they started shooting when they were just 5 or 6 years old, and therefore I also made a lot of arrows. I made so many that I decided to make a jig to glue the fletching onto the arrows, and that's what I'm going to show you here in this short video. Stay tuned. The jig is just basically some plywood parts, a couple of turned parts. It's a way to hold the shaft of the arrow steady and hold a feather, a piece of fletching up against it parallel with the shaft. And then it's a way to rotate the shaft 120 degrees in order to glue 3 arrows on and have them evenly spaced. So you can see the parts are just these 3 pieces of plywood and a couple of turned parts. I've marked both sides with marks that are spaced 120 degrees from each other, and these 2 parts simply have sort of a friction fit on the shaft of the arrow. This is just a piece of bent, I got it hot with a hair dryer and bent a piece of PVC from a PVC pipe. It holds the fletching tightly and square, and then you can see I've routed 2 grooves in those pieces of plywood so that that piece of plastic that holds the fletching will slide down into those grooves, hold the fletching against the shaft of the arrow until the super glue dries, which only takes about 30 seconds. Then you pull that plastic back off, it leaves the fletching behind. You rotate the arrow 120 degrees and do that again. Once that's dry, you rotate the arrow another 120 degrees and do it a 3rd time, and you have 3 evenly spaced feathers on your arrow shaft. The way I've designed this is to use wooden 5/16 diameter shafts. Certainly you could drill these 2 end pieces to any size to fit any shaft, or you can just wrap tape around the shaft to cause a little friction so that they would turn. The shaft would turn with the markers. The idea is just to get nice even 120 degree spacing on those 3 feathers or pieces of fletching. Got the fletching and the nocks and the rubber tips all at Amazon. I've got some links on board here. Here's a drawing just to maybe make this a little easier to see. You can see that the marks there and the mark on the round part that I turned. You just simply turn that, it turns the arrow. And again, that piece of white plastic up above there is the part that you just slide down off and on. Here are some pieces of fletching just to tell you what those look like. They just come in plastic. When the arrow is done, you can pull it right through the hole. The fletching will just crumple as you pull it through that opening, and then glue the tip on, glue the knock on the back side, and very inexpensive way to build arrows. The wood dowels you can buy at almost any hardware store. The fletching, the nocks, and the rubber tips I bought on Amazon, and they come in packages of a dozen or 20 or 30, so it's all inexpensive stuff. Here's another just a diagram or illustration of what this thing looks like and how it works. Sometimes it's easier to see it in a diagram fashion than it is in real life. You can see it's very, very simple. 3 pieces of plywood drilled out, 2 turned knobs, some dados cut into the 2 uprights so that you have a slot to hold the feather parallel to the shaft. You just slide it on, let the glue dry, and pull that sandwich plastic part back off, rotate the arrow, do it again, do it a third time, and you're done. You can just see how easy that is. Back down, back up again, and you've got your 3 feathers evenly spaced. The reason the holes are so large in those 2 uprights is when the arrow is finished, you have to pull it through, and the fletching will, kind of crumple as you pull it through the hole, but you wouldn't want to pull it through a tiny hole, and so that's why I drilled such large holes to make it a much more friendly jig. Here's just showing you some of the parts, what they look like, the knock and the rubber tip and a finished arrow. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.